Hello, everyone, and welcome back to TekXpresso, where we serve quick, insightful, and engaging tech trends. I'm your host, Veer Varma, and today I'm joined by Navroop Sahdev, the founder and CEO of the Digital Economist. Navroop is a globally recognized emerging tech investor, board advisor, and speaker who works at the intersection of artificial intelligence, blockchain, economic policy, and governance. Through the Digital Economist, she's leading conversations and research on how we can design economies that are human-centered and sustainable, publishing over 100 research papers annually and convening global leaders to drive large-scale change. In this episode, we'll dive into the idea behind the digital economist, explore the balance between machines and humans in shaping the future of economies, and hear about the challenges and lessons Navroop has faced as a woman leader in a male-dominated space. So without further ado, let's get to it. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Navroop, and we'll be talking about human-centered economics, the role of technology for the future of economics, and the challenges and lessons of being a woman leader in the male-dominated field. So let's get right to it. So, um, my first question is, you're the founder and CEO of the Digital Economist, and the Digital Economist is described as the world's foremost think tank on human-centered economics and governance. So, what was the original idea when you first made it, and or a problem that you saw that made you want to start this wonderful organization?
Hi, Veer. Good to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me. Well, you've come a long way since we met at Harvard, I think, a few months ago. So
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah, so I guess to start to kind of respond to your initial question on the inspiration for the digital economist, it really comes from both what I would call the pull and push factors. 2018, 2019, I was working on a bunch of blockchain use cases. And I've been in the domain since 2015, 2016, around that time. So close to 10 years now, if not exactly. And I really saw a gap, which is when you're looking at decentralized distributed systems, you essentially have to rethink the economics of these systems. And even that's a secondary consideration. Fundamentally, the way decentralized systems work are different from the way our current centralized systems are set up and interact with each other. I was asking some of the very fundamental questions around what does that mean from an infrastructure perspective, from an economic infrastructure perspective? What does it mean from a regulation and regulatory and compliance perspective, right? Because a lot of the compliance requirements in the U.S. Specifically are based on at the middlemen, right? So the people who are responsible for ensuring that they report to the regulators. Um, and I guess even more, if you take a step back, even more than that, working on some of the behavior considerations around where is value emerging in systems if we configure them differently, right? There's a concept called dead weight loss in the economy, which is when you're sort of moving information around, but you're actually not producing anything of value. And this is sort of the way a lot of for example, the financial markets work. But if you have systems that can settle, for example, transactions in real time versus 3 days from the time the transaction's made. A lot of that infrastructure, the middle market infrastructure, becomes redundant, right? So this is just some of the examples of sort of the more fundamental questions I was asking, and I realized that a lot of the economists in the domain hadn't caught up, right? And I was one of the first few economists working on these topics. Um, and let alone, companies catching up to it, except for a few innovation ecosystems, very few companies actually sort of understood the implications of, decentralized distributed systems and how they can play in the new up and coming Web3 domains. And just as an example, at that time, the total market, a capitalization of all the cryptocurrencies was, I believe, around $1 billion. And that number is, I believe, 3 or 4 trillion now. Um, so, so that's the kind of growth we've seen, right, over the past 10 years. Web3 has been by far one of the fastest growing realms and perhaps would only be marred by AI as we speak, right? Which is obviously a much more older technology and much more integrated into our systems. So that was the gap, right, from a research perspective that I've been doing with MIT Connection Science and the Media Lab, with UCL Center for Blockchain Technologies, and sort of my capacity as research and industry associate. Um, but then on the commercial side is also how do we translate some of this cutting edge work and thinking, which is seeing massive adoption and fast adoption, into what would actually benefit businesses, would benefit institutions, and that process is underway. So starting the Digital Economist was a bit of a light bulb moment where, a lot of times people who did understand Web3 were kind of going around looking for, like a hammer looking for nails, right? Which use cases they can serve. So it kind of turns that around a little bit and say, well, actually, what are we building tech for, right? And we are building tech for serving life center systems. So that's basically what became the mission of the Digital Economist. We took a step back and said, well, sort of the entire premise of building, technology is to serve humans, so human centered, but also not only, right? Serve life center systems. We share the planet with 5 million other species. And, looking at the convergence of different technologies, because that's sort of where the exponential value lies, to then, build an economy that, or build many economies, if you kind of look at it from a national economy perspective, where life center systems, human center systems are front and center. At that time in 2020, 2021, I had explained what human centered meant to pretty much everyone. Now that's common parlance because of the, ubiquitous kind of, I guess, use, if you may, in professional circles of AI technologies, right? And so I'll pause here, but a definite need, I guess, in the space, and certainly an inspired moment that led to it.
Wow, that's really inspiring to hear. Like, honestly, like I would say like 6 months ago, when I would think about economics, like the first thing that would come to my mind was like numbers, markets, and like policies that like I would never be able to understand that barely affect like real people. But like your story just makes it feel so much more human and like relevant because I love like how your organization like uh it like focuses on people first, like not just efficiency or profit. And it's amazing to think how one idea combined with like research and collaboration between many other people can influence so many systems and decisions around the world. And it actually like makes me realize how important it is to like start small but think big for the future. And and like for someone my age, it's motivating to see like it's motivating to see that even like complex systems like economics and can be approached in a way that prioritizes like human impact. And it makes me think that how I can approach my own problems in my own life, looking for ways to make them meaningful and people-centered in for the future. So that's really amazing how you came up with this, how like it grew over time. So this helps lead into my next question, which is like around like these days, right? A lot of conversations about the future focuses on like machines, automation, AI, and robotics, like the next generation technology. But my question is, what motivates you to keep your focus on human economics? Do you see the future economy as one where machines are run by humans, or is there a hope for technology that can truly make people's life more efficient and meaningful?
Yeah, that's a good question and a big question, right? Um, I'm really happy to hear that some of this triggers some more, fundamental questions that you mentioned. Um, I personally believe, honestly, there is a confusion about sort of economics, about what economics is about, and that has primarily to do with the fact the way it's taught is very narrow. And it was a bit of a moment of realization. So I'm kind of taking a step back before I answer your question. But I have a master's degree in economics, in applied economics, actually, mathematical and econometric stuff. And we did you know, um, a lot of quantitative stuff from India. And then I moved to Europe. And I pursued a dual degree program in sort of what became my second and third masters. And I was kind of surprised how in the quote unquote West, economics is taught from a very specific single school of thought, which is the neoclassical. That is not the case in India, for example. We studied all schools of thought, so it's kind of like becomes a little bit like dogma, like you have the religion that you're born in, right? So it's kind of economics has become that, but that is not the case. There are other religions in the world. You don't have to have a religion. You can say, hey, I'm against religion because it compartmentalizes people, and I, want to be able to think for myself and, look at scenarios from a scientific perspective. So that's kind of how I see economics, right? Economics, at the end of the day, is a study of the economic nature of humans. That is the first sentence, the opening sentence of any textbook of economics, right? But I believe it's very quickly marred by equations and money, and a lot of people believe that economics is about money. And that's a bit of I think, a bit of a US perspective as well, where, sort of the race to kind of make more money is front and center, right? To sort of our collective, I guess, consciousness on what matters the most. And that's kind of a little, I guess it's a little myopic, and certainly not very future forward. But that doesn't mean it has to be the case always. So you kind of see this understanding of a much more holistic approach to things, right? In other cultures that have been around for, let's say, a few thousand more years. So that's something to look at. And then, you asked about what it means from, a future perspective, with machines and automation and AI. Um, I think there's a race to gain efficiencies from what AI is offering, and then technology and whatnot. But a lot of this sort of madness is driven by capital. To be honest with you, there is an opportunity right now, and that's sort of something we talk about in the venture capital world, where in the next 2 to 3 years we're going to see massive adoption and commercialization of artificial intelligence, and technologies around that, including decentralized tech, right? That could serve as the backbone, hopefully now can be adopted, right? And that's not the entire story, right? Which is that the reason why I kind of gave all of this background is because we obsess on just making money, right? And that same obsession is what is leading to this question. Oh, human versus machine, this sort of like false dichotomy. I'm not going to say, oh, I believe that humans would keep the machines in check or whatnot. We actually don't know, right? And I certainly won't say, oh, machines are going to take over, blah blah blah, because we build these systems, right? These are based on replicating mechanisms and the way the human brain works. You look at neural networks, for example, right? And interdependencies, etc. So all these systems at the beginning mimic human thinking, right? And the content that goes in, the training that goes in, is based on what we have created. And there is this opportunity now to do so because the whole world is kind of online, except those who are not connected, right, to the internet. So that's kind of where things are. So I actually don't believe the question is that um, is it going to be sort of man versus the machine type of thing? But I think the question is, the systems we build, do they ultimately serve humans, or do they serve, those who control the build out of the systems, which in many cases, I guess where capital flows, right? If not individuals. In many cases, we're sort of seeing a lot of centralization, obviously, of capital, of power, of the ability to direct what gets built out and what have you. So I think it's fundamental and important to think about, the world that we inherited is not, except the natural world, is not uh, random. It's not the way just, oh, this is how things are. That's not the case. This is coming from decisions that were made from the past, people, world events that shaped the way things turned out to be. And sometimes even small differences can can make a huge, cascading impact down the line, few years down the line. And that's something to be cognizant of, right? So that's kind of the trigger of also a lot of the work that we do, that there are alternative models, there are better models, right? And it's kind of naive, to be honest with you, to kind of like leave humans out or think that machines that we build are somehow smarter than us, right? They could be more efficient, and that's why we build them. Um, but they would never replicate, obviously, I think the human creativity and the human experience for that matter, which is much more embedded in much more fundamental qualities that build civilizations, right? Like empathy, like care, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, that honestly, like you made like two big points in this question, like about human economics, how you keep your focus on human economics, and how you think, like the second question, how you answered the second question. They both were amazing. And like it really makes me think different about technology. Like I like the way how you like related somehow religion to like human economics. Like God knows how many religions there are in this world. Like I don't know how many, but there are a lot. And the way like you made it like relate to human economics, I never thought about it from that perspective, and it's honestly really amazing. And now talking about the second question, like I hear people saying like how machines are going to replace humans or that AI will take over jobs. But like what you're saying like kind of like flips the narrative. Like I love that. I love the idea that technology isn't like about meant to replace humans, and I completely agree. It's supposed to like help us be more efficient or help us make better decisions that improve our lives. And it also like shows me that the economy like the economy doesn't have to be just about numbers. It could actually be about serving people and helping them for the future. So you've built a global organization in a field that still largely male dominated. What challenges have you faced as a woman in the space, and what advice would you give to other young women, especially those who want to lead their careers in tech, economics, or policy?
Sure, great question. Yes, that's true. Um, but also I will answer that question. And I think to add to your question, I think my advice is not just for young women, right? It's also for young men, because at the end of the day, we are all humans, and that's much more fundamental. And to be honest with you, let me start there. If we can all just respect each other as humans, I think that would be a great starting point for anything, right? I mean, I think that's basically the issue. A lot of the times, and a lot of the cultures, in a lot of the socialization, which is very gendered from the second you're born, um, there's I feel like a little less humanity attached to the female, form, which makes no sense because, I mean, come on. And this again is a relic of religion, right? Which before we had organized monotheist religions, we had much more integrated frameworks to look at the natural world and our place in it, right? So most of the kind of the old man sitting in the clouds type of uh, image. We had cultures that worshipped, natural phenomena, and certainly much higher place of the feminine, if you may, in the world. And I think it what has become, but I think there is an unprecedented opening to with sort of women being such active participants in the economy to balance out that equation. Um, so that's one thing, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, because in my brain, I kind of think of that world, and I try not to obsess too much about, oh, I'm a woman in this male dominated world and look at all my accomplishments. And it's true, you have to work like four times harder. Once a friend of mine called me, a colleague actually from Harvard, and I had just started the Digital Economist, and he was like, oh, congratulations, this and that. And I was like, I just started the company. I don't know why you're congratulating me. Like I'm yet to like, do anything or make a mark with it. And he said, I know that you worked three times harder to get to this point. And he said, you are a woman, you are a woman of color, you are an immigrant. I think he said four, and you're young, right? I was in my 20s, mid 20s at the time. And so this is the layers, if you may, right? That go in. The farther away you are from the dominant group in any society, the greater, the farther you are from, uh, owning, managing resources, the farther you are from exerting influence and control, which is not a bad word, but corporate America kind of made it a little too bad, right? Um, and so, all of this is true, but at a fundamental level, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter to me. I do what I do because this is my calling, this is my purpose. And not one day I have doubted that, if there's something else I would want to do. It converges my talents, my gifts, and what I believe in, right? If you kind of again look at a lifetime, it matters less. However, when it comes to obviously how far you go, how much you progress, and at what pace, these things come into play, right? Um, my only, I guess, advice to women in this case would be to, obviously not doubt themselves. We talk about sort of this investment opportunity in the venture world. That's also true for women finally reclaiming their rightful place in the world. We're also going to see a massive wealth transfer towards women, first horizontally from their spouses, who will, over the course of the next few years, will pass on that wealth to their spouses. Women live longer than men, so that's first. And then second is to their children, right? So by 2030, 2040, we are looking at trillions of dollars of wealth transfer that would happen to women, and then of course millennial women as well, um, who are, I think, at the forefront of this transformation. None of us want to have the life our mothers had, right? Let's be clear about that. And so that tells you we are at a point, at an influx of sort of a much greater awakening, right? That we've had enough of, I guess, oppression over the past 2,000 years. It's still rage provoking, right? But the reason why I said is that we shouldn't just be talking to women is because fundamentally it's men who need to change, right? The person who is at the receiving end of this doesn't want to receive discrimination of any sort, right? Um, and so it's really important that we have young boys, men who are, I just don't think allies, but it's a fundamentally different consciousness. And there's a lot of that. We will fight, and you're just, on the side to clap and cheer. Like, come on now. I think everybody at the end of the day comes out of a woman. So women build civilizations, right? And I think it's important to remember that, not just out of respect for your own mother, but because um, there's a reason why two genders exist, right, in all species. And so it's a much more core issue. It's funny because I was reading something, and I'll conclude after that, that are the only sort of species that have this kind of stupidity around, the female being less than somehow. You don't say, oh, it's a female shark, she won't bite me. She will bite you, right? And in most of the species, actually, the women are much more, fierce. And a lot of the old theories that were built to serve, colonizers and imperialists are being debunked. For example, women didn't used to hunt. They mostly gathered and took care of kids and whatever. That's not true. Women used to hunt at least in 80% of the societies, right? And so we're starting to see some of that awakening, and how science as well was extremely biased. The whole race theory is nonsensical, and that was created by um, white European men who wanted to have a justification to colonize those who had a different skin color. And that's simply because they live in regions there's more sun. So you got to have more melanin, otherwise you die of skin cancer. It's just really practical things. So the way we evolved. And so it's because there's much greater education and women are more educated on a whole than men, right? More women graduate from universities, from colleges. That's true for India. That's true for the US. They're the primary breadwinners. It's quite the opposite, actually. I'm worried about men, to be honest with you, because, the whole sort of male loneliness pandemic and blah, 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 because there's an active resistance towards changing and evolving and keeping up with the times. And we're sort of seeing a backlash of that sort of, what the right word is, complacency and toxicity that is hurting our societies. We're seeing political polarization. We're seeing the strong man sort of, 20th century, early 20th century type of I guess attitudes back again, right? The rise of the political right around the world. But I think, and I do hope this is its final leg, and after that, I hope it rapidly crumbles because um, we have plenty of research, we have plenty of evidence where, when women lead, they care for everyone, right? Not just themselves. So it's a much better world for everybody, right? And anytime we design systems is something there to remember. We design for the most vulnerable. You design a city, you think about how kids are going to go home. Are they safe? Can they run around, right? You design um, let's say, a digital system, a social media platform. You think about how you're going to protect kids who may have access to it. Obviously, that's not how Facebook did things. We could talk about that, I guess, in another talk, right? And this is again where sort of the bifurcated, uninformed, young male consciousness is easily misled, right? Now, you are one young male, but you are also a different generation, right? And I think it's important that the opportunities and the exposure you have, the people you can talk to that perhaps some of these other guys didn't have access to, is put to good use, right? So I'll pause there. And great, of course, to speak with you today. And I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Um, yeah, so that was like I feel like that was like a really, really good perspective that you brought in because um yeah, respect. You just need to respect both genders. And like I think it's easy for people my age and like people who are also a little older to me, like to underestimate like how barriers like the barriers women face in leadership, especially in like field like technology and economics. So like I feel like that's what we believe. I feel like that's what we are brought in to believe like at an early age, which is not true. So like the thing is that like we just need to be able to respect each other, believe in each other, and just like support each other for the future. So that was like wonderful, like that was a wonderful perspective you brought in to like see to, like just like to show like what is actually happening. And I love the amazing examples you brought from the past, and like also like how you brought like other species, like a female shark wouldn't like like this female shark wouldn't bite you because it's a female. Like that's kind of like that's kind of funny, and that's actually really true. And I just love that amazing example, and like it like this entire conversation, like from start to finish, I feel like every single question you've helped me think about something new in a different perspective, which I've never like really thought about it before. And it's been an amazing conversation. So Navroop, thank you so very much for joining with me today. This will be the end of our conversation. And like the biggest takeaway from this episode is that like even like in all fields, um, for me is that even in fields that seem complicated or intimidating, like economics or technology, keeping people in the set at the center of your work can completely change outcomes. And that's the biggest takeaway that I had from this episode. So thank you very much, Navroop, for joining me, and I hope to have you in future episodes.
Thank you very much, Veer. Wonderful.